Now the Mount Haversham had a shitty ride with Clarksville. I think it was Clarksville decided to just see how things go. You know what?
They don't know.
Well, there you go.
One man, one person. I talked to him.
Okay. Yep.
Now, just like Craig,
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what's up, Sean?
Oh, really?
he said, I got this.
Really? No, but see, when that has so,
Oh, it's so far away.
they're going to be a freaking
our loved ones. We ask that you watch over our community and our city. We ask that you let us be mindful of our decisions tonight as they glorify your name. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
First thing on the docket is GMA employee benefit proposal. Mark, do you want to take that?
Yes, this is a discussion that's been going on for a while since I've been here. And Casey has been a big part of this. And as you can see, several of our water and street guys are here too. And it's something that's near and dear to their hearts. And Megan and I called in with Josh Cooley. Josh is with GMA, and this is his job function that he deals with, is the pensions. I'll let him give you some background on himself. You've got a handout. I believe everybody has one. So with that, Josh, come forward, and you can use the podium there. When you get there, pull that microphone toward you and tap it and make sure it's working.
Okay.
You'll just stay in that.
Okay.
You got speakers up here. It is being on Facebook and YouTube.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the introduction. Just a little bit about myself. My name is Josh Colley. I'm one of the field reps for the retirement program at GMA. So I've been at GMA for about 8 years now, working with different functions as far as the pension. I've been an analyst processing applications. I've done valuation, which is data collection, and I've moved into this field service role where I'll come out and speak with city employees, city councils, city administration, anything pension related. So even after this, if you guys have any questions about anything pension related, please get in contact with me. I'll hand out a card to everyone after the discussion today. But so just to start out, so about the fall of last year, GMA was approached by the city asking about ways to improve their pension benefit. So after a brief initial discussion, what we talked about were two avenues to go towards, or the third avenue would kind of be doing both of them. So currently the way that it stands with the plan, pensions are a percentage of your final average earnings for every year of service you have with the city. The longer you've worked with the city, the higher that benefit becomes because you're adding those additional years of service. Currently you have what we call 1.5% benefit multiplier. What that means is you get 1.5% of your final average earnings for every year of service that you have. So for an example, if you had 10 years of service, 10 times 1.5, 15, that employee would get 15% of their final average earnings once they hit their normal retirement age, which right now is age 65. The other part of this that's good to know is you guys currently have that normal retirement at age 65 with at least 5 years of service, or there is an option for what we call early retirement, which is a reduced retirement benefit. You can apply for that reduced retirement benefit at 55 if you have at least 10 years of service. You can apply anytime between 55 and 65, and that reduction is based on your age when you apply. So the way early retirement works is the closer you get to that normal retirement, the less that reduction is. So if you apply at 64, your benefit has not nearly as much of a reduction as it would if you were to apply at 55. So the two plan changes that we talked about, the first would be to increase the city's benefit multiplier. So like I said earlier, you're at that 1.5% benefit multiplier. We talked about increasing it to a 2% benefit multiplier. This is pretty straightforward, where it will just increase the retirement benefit amount for everyone that applies with the city. The other one is going to be what we call the rule of 75 with a minimum age of 55. Now, what the rule of 75 is it is what we call an alternative normal. So people don't have to wait until 65 to draw that unreduced retirement benefit. If your age plus your service equals 75, you can start drawing that unreduced retirement benefit. So maybe someone that's 60 years old with 15 years of service, or 55 years old with 20 years of service, or 64 with 11 years of service, they would be able to draw that unreduced benefit once they meet that qualification. So it's important to know, and I pointed it out here in this little memo that I drew up. Really, anyone that starts their employment before the age of 55 with the city will be able to take advantage of this to some degree. Now, if you start it much younger, you're going to be able to take advantage of it a little bit more, just because you'll hit that rule of 75 at an earlier age. So anyone that starts at age 35 would hit that 20 years of service at age 55, and they would be able to draw that unreduced retirement benefit at the age of 55. So, this really just promotes kind of longevity with the city. The people that put more time into the city will be able to draw their unreduced benefit at that earlier age. Okay, so on the second page here, anytime we're looking at these plan changes, we do require a city to do a cost study. This shows the financial impact of, go back, let me talk back a little bit. The third option would be to combine both of these benefits. So increase the benefit multiplier while also giving employees that rule of 75.
Go ahead.
Hello, everybody.
Okay. So the third option would be to combine both of those benefits into one. So you'd get the advantage of that rule of 75 also with that additional increase to that benefit multiplier. So if we look on the second page, I have two sets of graphs with two graphs on each of them or two tables on each of them. The first thing we do anytime we're going to do a plan change is it going to impact the cost of the retirement plan? So if you look, each square is going to have two numbers. It's going to have a dollar amount, and it's also going to have a percentage in parentheses. There's two ways that we can look at the cost of a pension. You can look at it based on the dollar amount. This is how much the city pays every year into the pension plan. So right now, where it says current retirement plan, total cost in dollars, it's $117,724. That's the annual cost. We divide that number by 12. That's what we bill the city every month to help fund the pension plan. That's everything that goes into your trust fund plus any administrative fees for the pension plan. So in the other squares, we have the additional cost. Sorry? Okay. In the other squares, we're going to have the additional cost, and we're also going to have the total cost. So the additional cost is what's it's going to cost to add this, and then below where it says total cost in dollars and percentage of payroll, that is just going to be what you're already paying into it plus the additional cost for the retirement plan. So just adding that rule of 75, it would increase the cost of the plan of $33,385 or 1.67% of payroll to a total cost of $151,109 or 7.55% of payroll. Similarly, for the 2% benefit multiplier, so that would increase the cost a little bit more. So that would be about $71,933, bring the total cost to $189,675. Or the third option, which is going to be the most expensive, but it would put the city at a really good overall pension plan, would be if you added both of those. So that would be the estimated cost would be $116,577, and then that would combine to $234,281. So that would be the cost of these plan improvements. We change the cost with every fiscal year. So you guys are a January 1st fiscal year, which means you're a July 1st valuation. So even if this plan passed right now, you would continue to pay at your current rate until we do that new annual valuation, and then January 1st, your updated fiscal year, that's when this would get added into your budget.
And Josh, just know we are calendar year end.
Okay, sorry about that. So, does anyone have any questions about the cost or the tables that I have here before you?
Our
budget is, but our retirement is opposite.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
So that is correct. So budget, but retirement is.
Yeah, retirement's always going to be the inverse of your budget.
And remember, we're putting in 5.88% of payroll. So each of you, each month, we spend about $10,000 a month going into payroll for the pension each month. So this is another added benefit that you have with the city, because you have this, and then you have the full employee cost of insurance, which is roughly $850 a month. So those are pretty good additional on top of your salary or your hourly pay. So the bottom line is, it's going to cost us $33,000 more for the rule of 75. It's going to cost us $72,000 more for the 2%, and to combine them, it's going to cost us $117,000 more a year. to use part of the rule and the 2%. So really, there's three options on the table. And this benefit is for today's employees and tomorrow's employees. It has nothing to do with existing retired employees. That's important to know. It has nothing to do with any changes for them.
Right.
Again, you start out at a high school at 20 years old or so, and you work till you're 55, do the math, and you can retire rather than say you got to work additional 10 more years to get to 65. And our longest employee is you, Gary, at 33 years. And he started when he was 15. Thomas, talk about the legal side of where we are with us having this hearing tonight and what our options are.
So there's one of the things about this is there's a potential impact with regard to Social Security, and there's I'm not a benefits lawyer and I'm not a Social Security lawyer. GMA has got they've referred me to a couple of attorneys that are specialized in that. I have called her, but I've not heard back from her. So until I have a clear picture of how this impacts Social Security and the employee's ability to collect Social Security after they retire, it's my advice that you all not act on this tonight. Hopefully, well, certainly I talked to Josh before the meeting, and certainly if I don't talk to her, by the next meeting I will have talked to somebody and I'll have a clearer picture of what all that means. It probably is not going to impact it at all, but we need to know the answer to that for everybody's sake before you all act on this, because once you act, it can be difficult to unwind some of these things.
Question, can we do one and not both?
You can do Rule
Can we change the
75,
percentage? Can we vote on just percentage change and not do the Rule 75?
or you do the 2% multiplier, or you do a mixture of both. So you have three options.
Okay,
And to do both is the most expensive.
sure.
To do the
Just Rule 75, just by itself. Right.
right. And so with the 2% multiplier, it's 72,000 a year more. And if we do the rule of 75, it costs us $33,000 more. And it's going to go up to $151,000. I'm on this page right here to make sure everybody's on the same page. And do y'all want to talk about the money? Because again, this would not go into effect cost-wise. This would be budgeted into our 2027 budget.
That's right.
Nothing to do with this year's budget. We get the benefit of it as soon as it's passed,
You start paying
but we don't have to start paying until January 1st. So that's the key to whichever way y'all might be thinking.
And at what date do we have to vote on this to make it cut off?
So we're not voting on this today. This is strictly informational. Once we have guidance of how the council wants to move forward, that's when GMA will make the plan amendments to the amendment or to the adoption agreement, which is the official plan. That is an ordinance. It generally takes about 4 to 5 weeks for us to make those amendments because we have to get them registered and everything. And then once we make those amendments, we'll get it to you guys. It does have to be passed as an ordinance. Is that 2 readings?
I just wonder if everybody agrees.
Okay, so once we get those documents to you, you would do your, 1 reading if everyone agrees, and then it would be in effect whatever day you do that reading.
Okay.
So, yeah, today this is strictly informational.
And guys, I just need to hear from y'all to tell me which way you're thinking, because, what's that? And so I just need to know what y'all are thinking and which way for us to be looking for.
Yeah. Y'all want more time to digest this, or where are y'all at?
Well, we're not voting on this.
No, we're not
So
voting.
I need more time to digest.
Mark, do you want me to go through the example?
You can? Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know if I was taking up too much time, but so the bottom half of that second page is really just a hypothetical example to kind of show you the potential benefit impact of this. So for this, I used a hypothetical employee, so someone that would have started at the age of 30, and then they would have worked continuously from the age of 30 until 25. We're going to use a final average earnings of $50,000 just to have a nice whole round number. So this employee would have 25 years of service by the time they hit age 55. So they would more than qualify for that rule of 75, for the 75 points when they hit 55. They'd have 20 years of service. So if you look at your current plan, if they were to apply right at age 55, that would be $781.25 per month. That factors in the early retirement reduction factor because they're starting to draw this benefit before the age of 65. Now, if they waited until 65, that's when they could draw their unreduced benefit. So if they terminated employment at 55 and waited until 65, they would draw $1,562, which is their unreduced benefit. Now, if you look to the right, that is going to be the rule of 75. So we don't even need to look at the benefit at 65 because they can draw their full accrued benefit at age 55. So in this example, that would be that same number, $1,562, so their unreduced retirement benefit. Now, if you add in that, oh, sorry, I made a typo. In the bottom section where it says current plan again, that should be the 2% benefit multiplier. I apologize. So under the 2% benefit multiplier at age 55 with that early retirement reduction factor, it would be $1,041.66. Or if they waited until they had their full accrued benefit at 65, that amount is doubled. So it's $2,083.33. Now I made two typos on this. On the bottom right quadrant, that should be rule of 75 plus that 2% benefit multiplier. And I'll make edits to this tonight, and then I'll get it sent over to Megan. So the bottom right quadrant should be rule of 75, minimum 55 with a 2% benefit multiplier. That person would be able to draw that $2,083 benefit at the age of 55. So if you were to do both of this in the hypothetical, that person that worked 25 years at that 2% multiplier would get 50% of their retirement, 50% of their final average earnings at the age of 55. So that's where that number comes into play. So that's just an example calculation. It will affect different employees differently. Like, as I said earlier, the 2% benefit multiplier is going to increase everyone's retirement benefit, but that rule of 75 will really benefit those people that started their career a little bit earlier and give them that opportunity to start drawing their unreduced benefit before they have to wait until 65.
If these employees retire at this time, can we hire them back part-time?
Yes, we require what we call a bona fide separation of service. So they do actually have to terminate their employment, and then we require a 6-month period of termination before they're hired back at we'll say part-time status. It's defined within your retirement plan. Most cities are 30 hours per week. I don't know what you are off the top of your head, but as long as they're under that hours per week requirement to be eligible, then their benefit does not have to be suspended. But if they come back at a full-time status, we actually do have to suspend their benefit.
We have an employee that works 32.
Very good. Any more questions or direction? Casey, you have something to add?
So, Robin came up with this years ago, and the city manager at the time, I won't say who it is, wouldn't listen to him at all. Matter of fact, it said, who is going to retire from Demorest? That's what was worded. So that kind of hurt everybody's feelings a little bit, because that's why we're all here, is to work, retire, you know. So had Robin had this changed, he would have never ran for sheriff. And he's told me that he couldn't. It would have been, he wouldn't have been able to leave that retirement on the table. So when I brought this to Mark, I've talked to all these guys, and I've talked to our guys. And I can sit here and tell you all about what police officers do, how their lives are, what we see, all that stuff. I'll tell you this, an average police officer, on average, when they retire, lives 4 to 7 years after retirement. So you work 30 years to enjoy 5 or 6 years. Oh, yes, ma'am. How about that? Okay. So I was talking to these guys, and there's a guy here, and I told him I wouldn't mention his name, but he started here at 20 years old, and he works for the water department. He's been here 15 years, so he's 35. He still has to work another 30 years before he can retire fully. Now, I know y'all have seen them getting in the holes, digging the ditches. I've seen them, you know, as a police officer, I've been out on wreck scenes for hours in the, you know, middle of summer, hot. I've watched these guys, they get out there in the middle of summer and they're sweating to death. I've been out there with them. I brought them coffee when it was 10 degrees outside, you know. So think about, when y'all think about this, think about how when you, at 65, do you want to be, or 63, do you want to be out there in the middle of a ditch at 10 degrees? You know, he'll be working 45 years to get a retirement. That's a long time of your life to work. So, you know, and that, you know, another thing is you got a bunch of young guys here. They got to be able to see something in their future to stay here. So the one I'm talking about, so he's been here 15 years. He could leave now and go to somewhere like Gainesville and work for 20 years, because Gainesville's got a 20-year retirement, draw 2 retirements, and still retire at 55. Or he can stay here for 30 more years and work.
I appreciate your word on that, Casey.
So,
You did a good job of trying to sell it.
yeah, well,
And, you know, the reason we're talking about this is we do appreciate everybody and appreciate everybody's hard work. So we're going to continue to talk about it and figure out a solution. You have anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so. Do you guys have any questions specifically for me?
All right, guys, question for y'all. Even though we're not voting, does Josh need to stay for the meeting? We don't have any more discussion just in general that you would need him to stay. If not, no. All right, Josh, thank you very much.
Yeah, and I'm going to pass out a stack.
I'll take them. Just set them right here and we'll give them out to everybody.
Yeah. So if you guys have any questions, there's a number in an email.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. There's a number in an email on there. I'm one of our field reps that's from a long time ago. So shoot me an email. We can figure out a time to discuss.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good luck. Yep.
I don't need a mic to say this, Mark, but the one thing I like to present to the council, Mayor B. Mark, that in the retirement and maintaining employees versus training employees, especially with the water department. I know you guys hard for a 90-day trial, but if the water department and what they're required to do, I mean, it takes 3 years, 4 years. So it's really being invested in the knowledge that needs to be acquired to be a full-time employee to know all the things you got to do. And I think with the costs you guys have talked about, I think if you evaluated that versus the training, you know, I think it would be very beneficial to you guys. Because in training with us, if you got a new guy, you got to train him. So somebody's got to train him, right? So while this guy is training the new guy, that's 2 salaries. While this guy is training the new guy, somebody's got to do the job that the guy's training. But if you're looking at respecting, maintaining and keeping employees long term is an extreme benefit, not only to us, but I think to the taxpayers and the customers of City of Demorest. And you've got some good guys.
Very good guys.
Some young guys, like me.
Guys, so there won't be any more discussion about this tonight in the rest of the meeting. So if y'all want to hang around, it looks great to have this many people in here. And if you want to leave, you're welcome to do whatever you so choose. And we can talk about it tomorrow if y'all have questions. Main thing is take that sheet home with you and we get other copies for the other guys.
And we're not running y'all either, so whenever we get more, you can sneak out. No offense, right? Sure. All right, let's move on to discussion of 133 Blue Ridge Avenue. a plat approval. Mark, what do you have for us on this one?
If you scroll through it, you will see their application. And this property has been one of code enforcement's properties that they've been on dealing with two dilapidated houses on this property. There's two plats in here, if you keep scrolling to it. There's the first plat that you'll come to that will show the 3 new single-family homes they plan on constructing there on this land. Basically, it's 5 lots, and turning these into 3 lots. Because when you look at the existing structure, which is the secondly plat, you can see lots 25 through lots 20 as being those, where those lots are being combined into 3. They meet the conforming size, and this is just for plat approval. It's taking a blighted property where 2 homes will be torn down. Thomas had worked with the property owner through our courts. I'll let you address that side.
So soon after we cited these properties, the owner put them under contract, and the real estate agent, the contractor, or the real estate agent and the owner have been working with the city, and they almost immediately started doing the necessary cleanup. And so even before Dave left, we had determined that we probably were not going to have to take any further enforcement action. But one of the requirements in the original order had been that they either demolish or sell the properties, and so they've been working on sale, and it looks like that's finally coming to fruition.
They plan to close shortly in the next couple of weeks in the month of March, and they would tear down these 2 houses to build 3 single-family homes that puts it back on a much higher tax basis than what's been sitting there. So it is something I would recommend y'all to consider, and with the layout of those 3 lots, because it shows the proposed house, driveway, and garage, and it fits within the building envelope, as you can see with the dotted lines.
And I see the staff recommendation to move forward with this, correct?
Yes.
I see that there's also a letter about water and sewer available, so
Correct.
all of those are checked. The alley, are they asking for that alley?
Not today.
Now, we voted on dissolving that. Does that still stand?
This is the one that we did for one probably 2 years ago. That would be right here, and here's Georgia Street right here. When we had the sales price, I will think that it was $2,000, and the 3 partners who own the house didn't want to pay it. Okay, so we have never gone back to undo that, and I haven't even told the applicants that we had done that. And
yeah, I think that if they were willing to pay what the price was, we wouldn't need to go back and redo all that. I didn't realize this was the same alley.
question though, but do they have to pay, if these people who are buying these 3, they pay the full $2,000 and then the other property owner gets the other half and they only get their half?
I think if they pay the money, they get the whole thing, unless the other property owner wants to pay.
And they would just split that money between the 2 of them to the city.
That's correct.
Now, how do we go about seeing it? How are we going to,
We'll just make the offer if they go.
is this something we're going to legally do through your office sending a certified letter? Okay.
I'll just give notices saying that it's been abandoned and it's sold. And
Here's the price.
You got 45 days to respond to the letter, so, yeah.
Okay, all right. Good, thank you for that.
So that's taken care of.
Yeah.
So all this tonight is to move forward with the vote on, what would this be? Accepting this plat?
Yes.
And accepting the staff recommendations as far as the minimum square footage and things as well?
I mean, all you're doing is approving the plat.
Okay.
That's all you're doing.
But the plat meets our lot standards, they're within the building setbacks.
So you're not approving the construction plans or anything like that. So they're gonna have to, whatever they build, they're gonna have to comply with the
Setbacks.
course and all that. So no, all y'all are approving is the plat.
Which is the 3 lots. Okay. All right. Any questions? No, I think it'll be a nice
And I'm surprised they're not.
clean up of that spot.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Any other discussion? Have any questions?
I do not.
All right.
So there may be some part of the neighbor next door, next to one of these houses, where it goes over.
If you look at the,
Into the other.
Second
into this
plat.
property.
if you look at the second plat, you'll see where there's a small infraction on that one, but it doesn't detail. It is right here.
Down at the bottom?
Yeah, but there's no notes or anything that I can see on there, and they cleared that up on their new plat. It's not there, I don't know how they cured it, but
It's still
they
there.
did. But it's,
It's still there. But it's over more inches.
so,
Yes, ma'am?
The people that are living next to where you're going to demolish,
we're not gonna demolish it, the property owners are.
the property owners are. Oh, okay, I misunderstood. I thought the city was going to demolish.
We can't go on private property, so that's what it is.
Okay, well, I was back there and I couldn't.
All right. All right.
How does that get involved?
It does, all y'all are doing is moving the plat. Oh, yeah. I mean, the encroachment is something they'll have to deal with. License and title issue.
Yes, elderly existing. All right.
Is that something where, does that fall under the law where existing property has been there and not contested for a certain amount of years that?
Adverse possession.
Yeah,
That I don't know. I wouldn't have an opinion about that. Again, it would be something like their own the title folks. That may be why they do the plat the way they did. I don't know. But it's not, that's not really up to the city.
All right. Next is a discussion of home rule ordinance. Thomas, what do you have on this?
So what this one does is you all have the quorum requirement that requires 3 council members or 2 council members and the mayor. Current one says that, and there's, and then the mayor only votes to break a tie. What the change does is that in the event that for either, for some whatever reason, we're at less than what a quorum is, or we're down to 2 council members and a mayor, but we still need 3 affirmative votes to do anything, or in the event that it allows that whatever elected officials remain will constitute a quorum, and a majority of whatever that is can transact business. And in those circumstances, and only in those circumstances, if the mayor's vote is necessary to make the majority, then he would be, or he or she would be entitled to vote at that time.
it specifically states mayor on this, but is that understood to be mayor pro tem or the person presiding? I mean, we can get in a situation where both Jerry and Donnie are both out.
So in that circumstance, what would happen is that one of the, if there were a circumstance where Jerry and Donnie were both gone, the other 3 of you would wind up appointing one of you as the presiding officer, and you would take on the role of the mayor during their absence.
But that person would still be able to vote.
That is correct.
Even though it just, I guess what I'm saying is mayor listed in here means person that's presiding.
Presiding as the mayor, that's correct.
I think it's good to have this just in case what happens. 2 of us.
Yeah, guess that goes skydiving.
Hey, you never know.
Any discussion? Any questions? All right. Next is approval of payment to MPE. Mark, what do you have on this?
This is one of our items that where we discussed this in our capital improvements plan, where we've gone in and we're going to replace the pump and motors that we've talked about. And this is just one of these items. And so this is just coming up to be proactive in our maintenance of this. So that's what this is all about. Replacing a pump.
Was this something we talked about during budget time, or is this outside of that scope?
This is something we would have talked then, we would have talked at the, retreat.
Okay. I thought I remember this conversation. It is budgeted though?
Yes.
Okay.
Just for the dollar amount, I wanted to make sure that we all were here just to see this.
Of course. All right, any questions on that? All right.
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Jesus. I can read that, but I don't know what in the shit you're talking about.
Well, they're talking about something that we budgeted as far as approval on a pump maintenance. It's 28,000 or 20.
I don't care about pump. But I would like to know.
Oh, you want to see an agenda?
No, I can see the agenda.
Okay.
What I want, Jerry, is to know about your ordinances. I don't have a copy of what the ordinances are. I want to know how your ordinances affect me personally.
Okay, well, they are all online.
Honey, I ain't computer friendly, I don't know how to go online,
Yes, ma'am.
so therefore, I would ask for a reasonable accommodation to my disability of ignorance on that line and get that in some other way.
I'm sure we can make that happen.
Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you talking about specifically the one that's up there now, or are you talking about like in general? I just wanna make sure I'm
I'm
clear.
talking about the ordinances of that y'all have approved, because I'm gonna be very honest. Shit.
Well, let's stay on our agenda here. So discussion of the IGA fire station lease. Mark, what do you have on that?
All right.
Thanks. Oh, yes, I'll speak out later on Sunday.
All right. This is something that Thomas and I and Chief Adams here have been working on. And we've gone through all the bells and whistles, and we just needed a lease that went along with our IGA, with the county taking over the fire department and taking over the fire building and leasing it. So it's made up with our term starting as it did on January 1st of 2026. It gives the amount of $30,000 a year lease, and it also references back how we're going to get that credit back from our IGA. And so that's what this is dealing with on this one. Chief, you got anything to add to that?
No, sir, I think that sums it up.
All right, and if you go to the next one, which is our e-pump,
You want to?
yep, lease agreement is the same thing. It is, we mailed our last payment 2 weeks ago, so the truck is free and clear. We still carry full insurance on the pumper because it's still in our possession. And
Double insured.
yes, yes. And at that time too, it was a financed item. And so it's giving us credit of $90,000 a year for a grand total of $450,000, for which they are purchasing the truck over our 5-year contract. And that is just put everything in writing to go along with IGA. And we get that $90,000 credit and the $30,000 credit on the annual basis, and we subtract those credits out, and that's where we're coming up with the quarterly payment of $133,000, which we'll talk about when we get into the financials, because that check was paid around January the 10th for the first quarter.
We already received the title.
No. to tell y'all, everything is going as planned. Chief Adams will be providing us with a monthly report, just like we're used to doing. And he and I are going over that, what we're looking for in there. So at this point in time, the fire station is alive and well. There's more bodies and trucks and ambulances moving around over there. If you haven't ridden by, go by, drive around the back. It's just more firefighters than we've ever had, being that there were 2 full-time on duty and maybe a chief or something there. But as far as I'm concerned, we're doing what we all said, and so with that, we had the consolidation meeting, which I'll talk about a little bit later too.
Thomas, you've read both of these lease agreements.
I have,
Any opinions?
I mean, they're fine. There were some changes made by me, and there were some changes made by the county, so they've been negotiated.
Okay.
When we go to the,
To the fire one?
Delta fire equipment,
Yes. That's to sell the fire equipment.
yes,
So we included number 8 as well in the truck.
yes.
Y'all have any questions or comments on the leases? Yeah, go ahead and go to the
All right.
sale of the equipment.
Y'all know that we have been going through the itemized list of equipment that the fire department had over all these years. And what is happening now is the chief had given us a detailed list and an itemized purchase price. And in my mind, I had come up with a price in my own mind of roughly $100,000 to be credited back to us from the sale of all this equipment. And the county has their list of purchasing $75,000 of items, and that it's all listed in here, and it tells you the per item cost and the group cost, and it gives you the different backgrounds and sections of that. And basically what's going to happen is this $75,000 will be credited over the next 4 years. And so I don't even done the math, Jeff. You know the 18,000, that's close enough.
18,750.
All right, so $19,000, and that will be an additional credit that we will take with the $90,000, the $30,000 from the rent, that $18,000. And we're now working on the other credit that will come is the 911 radios that the city has. We'll be working under the same premise to lower what we're having to pay, because these are credits and not jamming the county in any way in achieving the service that we're getting.
Did you say over the next
4
5 years or 4?
Well,
Okay.
the whole agreement's for 5.
Right.
But these other credits will come in.
Starting
I
next.
got you.
Yep.
I just wanted to make
So
sure.
that would be a
I'm
credit
writing
we
this
would get in January of 27, January of 28, January 29, January of 30. And then the last one is something else the chief worked with us on, is the letter of Chief Brandon Ellis of Gainesville, where they want to purchase some additional tanks and straps. And if you go through where his letter is, Chief Adams took a picture of exactly what we're talking about here. And Gainesville's gonna use these in their fire academies and in their training. This wasn't a need that Habersham had, and there's an offer of $24,500 for that equipment. If y'all approve that, they're prepared to deliver a check on Friday to pick up those items. So if y'all approve that, we will have all that equipment left, all that will be gone. Last thing we will have is the radios to deal with as we get closer on that.
I'm sorry. Lord have mercy. Have other cities in the state or even in the United States, particularly the state, had an opportunity to see what they would pay on?
Well, it's
Why
not,
just Gainesville?
well,
I
it's,
know you came from Gainesville.
this was,
The chief of Gainesville called me
We had another city ask me about it, and I said roughly this is their price. He said, oh, I can't even, a city here in the county said, I can't even get near that price. So,
And I went through and spot checked several of them, going through the list, and they're paying.
they're paying a fair price for what it is, because some things are new, some things are old, some things are, will they really use it? I don't know. Some of this stuff, I don't get why you need additional crowbars for this or for that. And, so I feel like we got a great offer from the county and from the other city. And I think getting $100,000, $99,500 is a great credit for this type of equipment. Because again, there's so much of it, you wouldn't have a garage sale and have people come through it with that. So I recommend these as presented as the leases too.
Council, how would y'all like to proceed or talk about it or discuss?
And we'll vote on this.
Yeah,
Yes.
tonight.
Yeah.
Any discussion?
Not from me.
All right. We'll take the next 12 minutes and take a break and then reconvene.
What was it, good session?
We just confirmed.
Okay. What you talking about?
All right, we're gonna pray and then do the pledge, so if y'all pray with me. Lord, we're grateful to gather here this evening. We're grateful for the beautiful day and springtime in the air. We ask that you watch over us. We ask that you protect us. We ask that you watch over our family members, our loved ones, and our community, and everybody that's here to support our community, and all of our employees to help build our community up. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Well, we appreciate everybody being here tonight. One of our first parts of the meeting, and we have two of those parts as appearance and public comment, one at the first and one at the end. Would anybody like to step forward and speak on anything that's not on the agenda or on the agenda?
Yes, I would like to.
I'll turn this on.
Sorry.
I would like to talk about the 4th of July.
Okay.
Wait a second. Are we doing entertainment all day long?
Good question. I thought we were doing it for lunch after the parade, if you can find the talent.
That's not the problem. I know Sean and I, we were talking about it today, and of course, I guess the big question is the main headliner. A couple of names that have been tossed around. Due to the year of the 250th year of Independence Day, name John King keeps coming up, and he has been soul searching, and he gave me a number today, and he's working hard to be here. He wants to play again. He wants to perform for us, and I know he's, I would like to have him back. I would. So I just want to ask you guys your opinion. Ask the public's opinion on it.
I appreciate you putting it all together every year, Andrew. You stepping into that role and doing a good job at it.
I appreciate it.
Sourcing that talent,
I appreciate it.
making sure you feel the day. So, council, do y'all have an opinion?
What I'm looking for, Andrew, is a recommendation from you,
Okay.
and we can discuss money
Okay.
at a later
I
time.
appreciate what John's done, because he and I, we've talked. And
Because that is the key, because we have a budget right at $50,000.
that's right, that's right.
And, again, fireworks, round numbers, $28,000.
Okay,
And then the music, and remember, everything will be in the park. Nothing will be up top considered downtown. It will be on Georgia Street, on the park and police side, all the way down to Laurel. And so everything will be between there and Massachusetts. And so that's where everything is going to be. And the fireworks will be shot off from the park down there on the little section where the creek is, by Johnny Mize Road right there, drive. And so everything is going to be pretty much hotel. And so if you could have music of some local folks or whomever just that could play, and they can be set up, not up at the pavilion like it was last year, because that just didn't work for the logistics. So,
I would suggest, and call everybody and give them bids and what you think. What do you
Give them
think?
what?
I mean,
I'm
you've already
sorry.
heard my opinion. So,
yeah.
but I trust your judgment, whatever you recommend. I mean, this is, musical act is not held by this, council give you to vote on it. I trust your judgment.
But if we can go local and we can have John King, who is a local guy, come and I think that says a lot.
And he is, all right, okay. I appreciate it, guys.
Ms. Gail, not unless you can get Kimberly to come sing for us.
Just hard, just hard.
Kim and them already having their.
I'm just kidding with you.
I
Well, I appreciate your work on that, Andrew. Thank you.
If they don't have anything on their plate for that time, I am sure that even if the rest of them
I'm just playing because they got their own contracts.
even if Karen and Philip, if they can't come, Kim seems great to herself. So I don't know if she'll be in town or not, but if she is, I'm sure she'll come and sing for nothing. I know my little thing.
All right. Next is approval of the minutes. These were emailed out to y'all. Y'all had time to review those minutes. If you have, we will entertain a motion to approve or modify.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? You're good. Next, Thomas, I'm gonna hand this over to you for the public hearing.
Okay. Tonight, we've got a public hearing on a proposed rezoning. It's an application from McCain Investment Properties LLC to rezone approximately 10.74 acres from agriculture to R2 multifamily residential for a 34-lot, single-family detached subdivision on property located off Saluda Drive, Demorest, Georgia. It is, can further be identified as tax parcel number 0780887A. It's been properly advertised and noticed. There is a staff report and recommendation with regard to this rezoning. Ms. Jessie Owensby, who is our consultant, was not able to be here tonight due to her new employment, but the city manager will present the staff report.
All right. I'm scrolling to get to it if you're wondering, because so, guys, all I can tell you is to keep scrolling from that tab, because in this you will see a plat on the property, the existing subdivision plat, and then you will see a lot layout, which has 34 lots in it. And then you will see a letter from EMI based upon the conceptual plans. We have confirmed that the city of Demorest does have the availability of water and sewer capacity to serve the development.
I think you're looking for, it's not under application, it's under Hancock Meadows conditions. So
It's under
come out of your,
conditions?
yes, it's a separate document.
All right, because if you go to that one, you're gonna see 13 conditions. That's the only one that's under that one, man.
The conditions are the staff recommendation.
Yes.
Yes, that is, but yes, I have those 13 right here. Yes. And with that is, when we go to that first page, number 1, it talks about the 34 single-family detached residential units at 3.16 units per acre. Again, they're asking for R2 because when we changed our land use plan and our zonings, these lots, the existing lots are 6,000 square feet, and it does not fit into conforming lots in R1 with 10,000 square foot lots. And so that is the reason why they asked for that in there. Condition number 2 is the master covenants and association. Yes. And rental restrictions, minimum square footage, that is a number that we will discuss with the applicant, because in our R1 zoning, the minimum square footage is 1,500 square feet. Thomas, correct me if I'm in R2, it's 1,000 square feet on that chart. Just take a minute to look at that, and we'll come back to that. The 5th one is the streets and bonding. You know, the streets in phase one are private and they're in pretty rough condition. It is starting to affect our infrastructure of water and sewer in there with these trucks, and damage is being done. Brian and EMI have gone out there and visually inspected and
That's an existing.
Such as, again, manholes are raised, which means the road is sinking around those that could affect our sewer lines or our water lines. And Thomas is gonna be sending a letter, and we have the same thing in another one that has private streets. Maintenance guarantees and bonds, downstream hydrology assessments to be done, detention conveyance improvements with for our city engineer, which is EMI, stream buffers, erosion and sedimentation control, emergency access, open space of 10%, subdivision and land development permits you can't obtain subdivision and land development permits prior to land disturbance. Prior to the issuance of any permits, the preliminary plat must be approved in accordance with this zoning. So until we have a preliminary plat, nothing can happen on this property because we'll have to approve the preliminary plat just as we're doing on Blue Ridge. So basically in my interpretation is they're wanting the zoning first, then have the expenses of designing the subdivision.
So we have a public hearing this month, public hearing next month on zoning.
Correct.
And then somewhere down in the future, it'll be on the plat.
Correct. And then that's when we're gonna get all the plans, the layout of the subdivision, water and sewer. These conditions, these 13 conditions will be being met during that time, also with the documentation. So again, the staff is recommending approval with the conditions, because again, you get into some questions. Again, we put this as ag, because if you look at that picture over here, that is a lot of land over there, and that's kind of why we did that, looking at that it was gonna take something. And phase one was done probably in 2006, and phase two has just been sitting out there. It's got a road access to it, and then it's stopped by a gate, and it has other adjoining properties that are still agricultural being around this tract on that map there. So with that, I will conclude at this point in time from the staff report.
And this property is only accessible through the subdivision, correct?
Correct. The new thing now in subdivisions, they like to have a separate entrance and exit. So if they're going into a subdivision, it's blocked, they have another way to come in. It doesn't always lay out that way because they may not own the land that can join another street. So, and this one does not have that opportunity.
Thomas, do you have anything else you'd like to add to this before we open it up?
Mark, I would go through, in the staff report, the analysis of the 7 factors in the zoning ordinance.
All right, that's where I was at under the application, trying to get to that part. So give me a second.
The document Megan gave you has that in there.
Oh.
That's why I had her hand it to you, because I could tell you were having trouble finding it on the iPad.
All right. Based on the review, the request is consistent with the adjacent land uses, supports the city housing objectives, and promotes orderly growth, provided conditions addressing stormwater buffers and access. The existing land uses and zoning classification of nearby property, and the answer to that is yes. The suitability of the subject property for the zone purposes. Suitability. The extent to which the property values of the subject property are diminished by this particular zoning restrictions. The answer is none. The extent to which the diminution of property value of the subject property promotes the health, safety, morals, or general welfare of the property. Not applicable. The relative gains of the public as compared to the hardship imposed by the individual owner will be creating new homes. And then it goes from there into some of the others, which is whether the subject property has a reasonable economic use as it's currently zoned. Not likely, because highest and best use in the applicant's mind is a subdivision. Highest and best use of others that don't own the property is agricultural land as vacant use. Whether the proposed zoning will be a use that is suitable in view of the use and development of adjacent property and nearby property, the answer is yes. Whether the proposed annexation and zoning will adversely affect the existing use or usability of adjacent or nearby property, potentially due to environmental and watershed issues. Whether the annexation and zoning proposal in conformity with the policies and the intent of the land use, yes. Whether the annexation and zoning proposal will result in a use which will or could cause an excessive burdensome use of existing streets, transportation facilities, utilities, or schools, none. Whether there are other existing or changing conditions affecting this use and development of the property which give supporting grounds for either approval or disapproval of the annexation or zoning proposal. Yes, this development causes potential stormwater and watershed management issues. The topo is very steep and will require retaining walls, stream buffers, and significant soil and erosion management during construction. However, the rezoning to R2 multifamily residential for the purpose of single-family homes is not an issue. The site plan may need to be revised. Again, it's about the topo, watershed, those are the main issues coming from staff. But the zoning request of R2 is within the overall scheme of being adjoining phase 1, which is R2.
Very good.
Now, anybody who would like to speak in favor of the application has 10 minutes.
Mr. Mayor, podium?
Yes, sir. Wait, just make sure to pull that microphone to you, please, sir.
That sound good?
Yes, sir.
All right. Mayor and council, thank you for your time. My name is Matt Benson. I'm a lawyer at Mahaffey Pickens Tucker, which has an address of 1550 North Brown Road, Lawrenceville, Georgia. My client is the applicant, McCain Investment Properties, LLC. It is not the owner or builder of phase 1, so I want to make sure that that's separate in your minds from who I'm representing tonight. It owns what we're common nomenclature calling phase 2. The subject property is 10 3/4 acres. It's located off Saluda Drive, just behind Hancock Meadows, and I'm just going to walk over here so you can see it. It's this first green piece here behind this Hancock Meadows phase, what we're calling phase 1. So it abuts it directly. We propose to rezone what it is currently zoned agriculture to R2 multifamily residential for low density family detached residential community consisting of the 34 units you've heard staff discuss. Let me, for the benefit of the public and you all, make sure that we're not frightened by the term multifamily residential development. These are not townhomes, these are not condominiums, these are not apartments, nor would your staff allow those to be constructed under a zoning of R2 for this particular piece of property. Further, these are not minimum lot sizes allowed in R2. What we are proposing, it is not the maximum density allowed under the R2 zoning. So we're way below the maximum density and way above the minimum lot size for R2. As the city manager pointed out, we have to be in R2 because R1, it doesn't fit with what already exists in phase 1. And we're trying to be as consistent as possible, given the new regulations and ordinances that have been entered into since 2006, 7, and 8. Now, our justification is that will have an overall density of approximately 3.1 units per acre, which is about half what R2 would allow. So I want y'all to be clear, we're not trying to maximize density here at all. The minimum lot area is going to be 6,000 feet, which exceeds the minimum lot area that we could build in R2. We're going to be compatible with surrounding land uses and zoning classifications. As discussed, we abut what we're calling phase one. And so we're asking this council to treat us just as it treated phase one owners back in 2006, 7, or 8. This is consistent with your 2023 joint comp plan. It also is consistent with the designation of the character area of suburban transition. So this property is in the suburban transition character area for the city of Demorest. Now, the comp plan anticipates and in fact encourages the development of undeveloped properties within this character area as single-family residential communities at moderate to higher densities. And again, we're on the moderate side here. The proposed development advances these policy objectives by providing a compatible single-family detached residential density that is appropriate and consistent with what's already there in and around it. We will have, by the way, open space, landscape areas will be incorporated. It will be attractive. We need to sell homes, so it's got to be attractive. And we are going to at least meet the minimums for the architectural aspects required by the city of Demorest. There's no question about that. We plan to exceed them. Now, I do want to, because I like it so much, highlight some of the aspects of the staff report that the city manager went through earlier in his presentation. This is so you don't have to take my word for it. From the staff report, this proposal aligns with the 2023 Joint Comp Plan. Next, per the Georgia Stormwater Management Manual, section 3.1.9, detention design must consider downstream hydrology to avoid increasing peak flows. In other words, this development cannot, per Georgia law, exceed peak flows that already exist. The applicant proposes a hydrological analysis for 25, 50, and even 100-year events prior to even obtaining a land disturbance permit. Now, I'm talking about permitting and engineering now, which is that second phase that the city manager discussed with you. But we're already aware. We're already aware, and we're not ignoring that particular issue. Further in the staff report, staff finds that the proposed density of 3.16 units per acre is within the R2 limits and compatible with the surrounding R1 and R2 zoning. Public water and sewer services are available. Further, based on our review of OCGA section 36-6-6, the request is consistent with adjacent land uses. It supports city's housing objectives and it promotes orderly growth. Now, of the 11 questions Mr. Musselwhite went through with you, I do want to point out that these particular watershed issues that have already been pre-identified have also been addressed by a proposed condition from your staff and city attorney, which we completely adhere to, agree with, and invite the condition to be attached to the zoning. Now, we request that you rezone the property as recommended by your staff. The result will be that this green block here just matches the one that already exists on the dirt. Now, remember, you're considering how this property can be developed tonight, not whether it will be developed, because as the city manager pointed out, engineering and site plan development, those things haven't happened yet. That's a lot of money, and no developer spends all that money prior to even knowing if a zoning classification would allow it to even construct what it wants to. So we're asking you step one first. Is this an appropriate location in the city for an R2 zoning. I believe unequivocally it is. Now, whether we can accomplish it and meet the standards provided in your ordinance, meet the standards provided by state law is a different issue. That's where our engineers come in, and that's where your planners come in with their input. So before permits are issued, before shovel hits dirt, we've got to provide this information to your staff to make them comfortable and convinced that what we proposed to build is what we're going to build. Now, I'll reserve the rest of my time, Mr. Mitchell, for any rebuttal. So I don't forget, I want to encourage any of y'all, if you've got particular questions or issues, I'm glad to field them directly. If you're more comfortable fielding them or pushing them through Mr. Mitchell, he knows how to contact me, and I'm glad for you to send them directly to him. But either way works for me. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Y'all have any questions?
Sir.
Oh,
Thank you for your service.
oh, thank you. Yeah, all right. You're welcome.
I do have one question.
For me?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've tried to go down to that property to look at it at least a couple of times, and there's been a lock gate, and I'm not the type of person to walk around lock gate, and if you're asking me to consider any kind of decision made on this property, I would like the chance to be able to view this property.
No problem. That's not a problem. So between now and April the 7th, I can get with Mr. Musselwhite and we can coordinate a group visit or whatever you want to, however y'all want to do it, but I'll definitely get you in.
Is it a key lock or a?
I think it's a code. It's a little combination. I just don't want to put it out here in public, but.
No, that's good. You and I can talk about that.
I can definitely meet that need.
Right.
Can I ask you one question?
You can ask, okay.
You can, fill it out.
I don't know if it's alluded like this, okay?
Right. It is,
Give me a minute.
yeah.
But I see
It's not near
something-
you, Miss Gale.
Huh?
It's not near you at all.
I just
So it
wanted-
borders the county. It's almost in the county, actually. So it's right here.
All I know is that my property is the color of that right there.
Well, I don't know which one's yours.
You're gonna be, this is you right here.
Okay. Well, I didn't know.
You're out of the way. It's on this side of the street, as a crow would fly about a mile back that way.
Well, honey, I don't know. All I know is my property is that color. So, anyway.
Is anyone else here to speak for this development?
Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the development, rezoning? Opposition has 10 minutes.
We have to call it opposition. I'm just here to speak on the particular public hearing. So, Mayor and Council, good to see you, and it's always good to be among home folks and have an opportunity to do what you do and get together with our friends and neighbors and talk about issues and how they may impact us. Back in August of 2025, I was first given the heads up that this particular rezone was probably going to come. And at that point in time, I tendered a open records request along with an executive summary regarding that particular piece of property. So I've got a couple of questions that I would like to ask. Was the Planning Commission provided a copy of the executive summary and the attached exhibits before they had an opportunity to deliberate and make a decision and a recommendation to council?
So we do not have the planning board, so it comes directly to us.
Okay, so y'all are serving both purposes. Okay, so were you given a copy of the executive summary? Was council given a copy of the executive summary and the attached exhibits while y'all were deliberating that portion?
I'll ask that Thomas answer any of these questions.
I don't know that is part of the packet.
Okay, I would like to submit for the record tonight a copy of that executive summary for mayor and council and for staff. May I do that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So if you look at this. For the record.
Again, this was an open records request, and along with that open records request, I went ahead and took the liberty of doing an executive summary on this. And in that executive summary, raised multiple issues regarding the subject property that's under question. It was rezoned to A1 in 2024, as you're aware. And we spent, and council spent a great deal of time and effort and did a yeoman's job of walking us through a very intensive ordinance and zoning ordinance for our city. You'll see that, there are flooding concerns. Not only that, I want you to understand, and what I told Mr. Benson earlier, I'm not against people building houses. This is not about, I don't want something in my backyard. We spent a lot of time talking about, and a lot of meetings talking about, how do we appropriately zone property? And so as he went over to the map, I'm going to go over to the map as well. Obviously, this is what he called phase one. It's high density, that's R2. He also very appropriately pointed out to council that this development that is in question at this point in time is not to be considered as a part of what he calls phase one. Totally separate entities, and yet turns and says, but they've got this density, so we would like to have that density as well. Okay, so that argument was made. If you look surrounding this, there's a tremendous amount of green that's on here. That's all agriculture that's on there. And the reason that came into question was simply this. Is that area with its topography and with its hydrology, is it suitable for that high of a density of building? And so that was, a point that needs to be made. I will go ahead and point out that in the ordinance, there are several procedural issues that need to be taken care of. One of those is how does this particular piece of property and the rezone, how does it change the percentage of the other zoned lands that are ag in that particular area? And I haven't seen, is that calculation been given to council, and has it been calculated?
I don't know that Jesse's done that.
Okay, it's a part of our ordinance, and so it's part of one of those calculations that needs to be, that needs to be computed if we're going to be following the procedurally how we do that. And that's but one of them. So, council, you have a copy of that. If you look, and I'm going to deviate just a little bit from what my notes are. If you look, I mean, there's a lot of information that is there. But, and I give it to you so you have an opportunity to read this at your leisure. But if you go about halfway back into the packet, you'll begin to see pictures of flooding events. These are not all the pictures of the flooding events that have occurred. But in the first one, exhibit number 4, you will see a truck that is parked at the head of that driveway. That driveway is my driveway. That is a City of Demorest Public Works truck with Brian Popham sitting behind the wheel. If you flip to page 2, you'll see that the culvert that exists underneath Double Springs Road is completely underwater. There have been multiple flood events where the water has completely gone over Double Springs Road. Now, that's a lot of water because that culvert is at least 10 feet. And it doesn't take a tremendous amount of rain. Donnie has seen it. We've all had to drive by it. I mean, sometimes it gets tough in that hole. Exhibit number 6 is yet another picture. That culvert is completely covered. You cannot see it. And the last exhibit, 7 and 8 and 9, you can see in 7 and 8, these are pictures of flood events that have occurred. And we're not talking about days and days of rain. We're talking about sometimes 2 inches of rain in an hour, 2 inches of rain in an hour and a half can create these kind of conditions. And so I wanted to make sure that council both had it and it was entered into the record. My next question is simply this. According to our ordinance, is council required to determine that the request promotes the health, safety, and general welfare of the public?
So that would be staff recommendation that comes to us that was answered and recommended.
Okay. My question is does our ordinance require the determination that the request promotes the health, safety, and general welfare of the public? Thomas?
One of the criteria, yeah.
It is one of the criteria. So in order to make that decision, council, we have to make sure that we can cross that one off. And is this a decision that does promote the health, the safety, and the welfare of the general public? Staff report states that a downstream hydrologic assessment under GSSM 3.1.9 has already been referenced by Mr. Benson is required. Has that assessment been completed? Okay, it has not. If not, how can council tonight, and I know you're not making a decision tonight, and this is a not aggressive question, how can council determine that post-development peak flows will not exceed flows in a 990-acre watershed without that document? Is my simple question. And the other issue that was raised is going from ag to R2. And I certainly understand that there is a significant financial investment by the owners of the property, the developers, to provide the hydrological study and to look at other factors as they have to be dealt with. But moving a rezone and having a plat in front of you is, I mean, I understand it's a plat that has 34 lots on it. It's a concept, but it's a pretty accurate concept. I would imagine that they didn't draw it just because they wanted to draw it. I mean, it's a pretty accurate concept. But without the other documents that are required in order to approve it. So my question to Thomas, Mr. Mitchell, does that in any way, shape, form, or fashion grant vested rights to the owners of the property?
The conditions that have been proposed by staff and that I have also participated in drafting, there's not a binding site plan condition for this one,
okay,
primarily for some of the reasons that have to do with the hydrology, that I think that it would be pointless at this point to do that. So the condition is no more than 34 single-family detached residential units and a maximum density, but no binding site plan.
Gotcha. Council, I'd like to point out that the rezone request to go from ag, which is 1 house per 5 acres, to go to R2, despite the fact that we want to disconnect from the front side, saying we don't want, we're not the front side, but yet we want the same density in order to stay in concert with the use of the front side. Does that make sense? When you're surrounded by ag on 3 sides of this particular, so you got 1 house per 5 acres all the way surrounding this, and we didn't have anything to do with this. This is all before our time. I'm not even sure that they went through the appropriate approval process, and I'm not questioning that at the point in time. It's already been done. But it's surrounded by ag, and obviously that's a low spot, and obviously the hydrology and the slope is a big deal on that. If the rezone is granted next month in the April 7th meeting, and we go from ag to R2, at that point, the density that is allowed at R2, if we meet the conditions that have been set by the city, is set. There's no changing that because our ordinances allow someone who's in R2 to do certain things. Am I correct, Mr. Mitchell?
No, we have restrictions set.
No, I'm saying if they meet those restrictions though, but there is a density that's set, there are things that people that are in their zone, if they're zoned R2, are permitted to do.
The R2 allows for a density up to 7 units per acre of right, 12 with a special use permit, which is, because that's the general requirement, I think that's why the recommendation here was a density of almost half that, of 3.16 units per acre. And I presume that part of Ms. Owensby's thought process was because of the topo on that particular piece of property.
So the answer was yes, there is some vested rights in, if it's not vested rights, not a great word. If we go from ag to R2, there are certain attributes of R2 that are permitted, granted by our ordinances.
Unless there's conditions in place that limit those further. Like,
Correct.
for instance, the question that was asked to begin with, the square footage required by the charts is 1,000, but there's a condition placeholder that if you all wanted to require larger structures in this development for whatever reason, you can do that.
Slope was one of the criteria that was evaluated. Has slope been calculated for that particular piece of property?
Nothing, just to be clear, nothing other than the site plan and what you see in the package. That's been the only thing. I don't want anybody to think there's a witch game going on or anything. There is nothing that will happen that we have in our possession in any way. That's all we have. This is, they're asking for R2, subject to having all these items completed before they can ever apply for a land disturbance permit or anything else. And those things would be, we would have somebody to review those documents to make sure those numbers are meeting the standards that we need and be discussed. And it would be more than it's going to be a professional person that would review those documents, that we would have to have that. Not something that I'm going to give you or our consultant can give us, because there are going to be some technical comments in there. And that's how that would be reviewed, and then a synopsis given back to us.
I can tell you that I have calculated the slope, and it's significant. I think everybody that goes to that piece of property will see that it's significant. And Donnie lives on one valley or a hill next to a valley on one side, and I live on the other side. And they go up and they go down. And when they go up, they go up. We used to walk that every once in a while for exercise. If you do that 10 times, you'll get in shape fairly quickly. I mean, it's steep. And just like Mr. Benson has invited you to come to the property through the gate, which I would obviously encourage you to do, I would like to invite you on my property. And I'd like for you to see it on our side. Again, this is not about stopping development in my backyard. It's about our city infrastructure and that sewer main that runs through my family's property that was given to the city of Demorest without compensation back in the 1970s, which we're heavily dependent upon for our sewer system. And I have seen sewage come out of those manholes, which are elevated at least 3 feet off the ground, and lift those tops off, and water come up and out of those city sewer lines during those flood events. And I would would greatly welcome you to walk through that area with me and see where that sewer line is in relation to the stream. Again, Mr. Benson and I had a very nice conversation, between the work session and this, and I'm sure we'll have another conversation somewhere in the not too distant future. So I just wanted to outline a few of the concerns that I have and that Jennifer has, and I'll leave you with this: the culvert that's currently running underneath Double Springs Road will not handle any more water. It is simple to understand that if you clear cut a piece of property, which is going to be required to put 34 houses on 10 acres, if you clear cut that, then the amount of impervious surface is going to increase the amount of water in that creek. That is undeniable. It's coming. And so if the culvert can't handle the water now, what are we going to do with the water when it comes and it's at a greater volume and at a higher cubic foot per second rate? And I can tell you that when I was fortunate enough to serve this citizenry sitting at that table, that we looked at that culvert and it was quite expensive. It was going to be $600 to $700, maybe $750,000 to replace that culvert. You can put 34 houses on that. I don't know that it'll cost that now. I mean, it costs have gone up, and I don't know how accurate. That's the cost that was given me, but that's probably fairly accurate. What I could just about guarantee is that the amount of property taxes or any other things that we got from 34 houses wouldn't come close to touching the investment that it's going to take to cover the road culvert if we have to replace it, or to amend, adjust, or fix our sewer line system that runs through that, because I've seen both infiltration and exfiltration, and both of those criteria cost us as citizens a lot of money in order to upkeep. We've spent a lot of money as a city. I understand that, and you understand that. So again, I thank you for your time. I thank you for your service, and look forward to the next conversation that we have on this. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thomas?
Anyone further to speak in opposition? There's about 2 minutes remaining for opposition.
Good evening. I'm just going to be real short and sweet and simple. I'm going to ask that you deny this. As he mentioned before, a lot of time, energy, and effort went into the whole process of the zoning. And I think you listened to the citizens and what they wanted. And so I would ask that you respect that at this point, and just say this is what it has been zoned. That's what we need to keep it as, and realize, that not doing so does negatively. I know they said it doesn't have negative impacts, but it does. As an educator, I can tell you it will impact the schools. It will impact the neighbors. It will impact the city as a whole because of the other issues that have been outlined. So again, very respectfully, I ask that you deny. Thank you.
Would you identify yourself for the record?
Yes, Jennifer Austin.
All right, anybody else here to speak against?
Rebuttal.
Use that same clock you used for Mr. Austin. Thank you, and thank you. I guess I'm directing my comments here. I appreciate Mr. and Mrs. Austin's comments, and Mr. Austin's correct. We had a nice conversation for the meeting, and we'll certainly talk again. But let me just address a couple of things that he said with you. The reason I distinguished between phase one and phase two and used that wording was just so you didn't hold anything against my client, or there was no suggestion that if there are any issues with phase one, that my client should bear those issues. I'm merely pointing it out because, in my estimation, I think it's tough to allow one property owner a use and then the neighboring property owner, when it asks for a substantially similar use, to say no. That's the only point I was making. So I didn't want to confuse anybody about who owned what. Second, engineering hasn't happened yet, and I don't want to beat a horse that's already dead, but we are going to be required by your code of ordinances, by the state of Georgia regulations, and by your staff's condition to not increase water flow past its peak, already established peak for 25, 50, 75, and 100 years. We got to demonstrate that. Now that's math. I'm not equipped to tell you why the math works yet. I'm not even equipped to tell you whether it will work yet. What I'm saying is my client won't invest the significant resources it takes to demonstrate it will work through engineering, probably a guy from Georgia Tech, before it even knows that would be allowed to build what it wants to build anyway. So you do zoning first, then you come in, and before an LDP is issued by this city, my client has to demonstrate that condition has been met. We agree with that condition.
He is land disturbance permit.
Can't put a shovel in the dirt until we demonstrate that. What we're asking for tonight is please treat us the same way you've already treated our neighbor. That's what we're asking. 3, keep in mind that while this is zoned ag, it's this city's comprehensive plan that has determined that particular piece of property is in the, quote, suburban transition character area. It was contemplated by this council, and I don't know this particular council, but whatever council created that comp plan, was it contemplated that that would remain agricultural? Square footage for the houses. We certainly expect that this council will put a condition on my client that the square footage of the homes has to exceed what the minimum is in R2. That's not a question that we have. We'll talk to Megan, and we'll talk to Mr. Musselwhite. We'll get something that we think would accommodate the council's desires on that. We'll fill that blank in other words. But we expect a condition related to the size of the homes. And then finally, this zoning doesn't mean that if it's approved next month, I can go out there and start building. I have rights, but they're theoretical. That's all they are. They only become practical when we demonstrate the conditions have been met. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes this public hearing.
Oh, one thing. So you insult y'all if I drive back to Jefferson? No, sir. Okay.
Be safe.
One thing I want to, y'all talked about doing a site visit. Whatever you all coordinate, I don't want a quorum out there at the same time. So if you visit, make sure you don't have more than 2 out there at a time.
We'll coordinate that with Mr. Benson and with Mr. Austin.
We just multiple trips.
All right, and that, we will have a second public hearing on that on April the 7th at 7 o'clock. Correct, Thomas?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. A little housekeeping, let's jump back up to the top and approve the agenda. I'm sorry for that. Y'all have anything you would like to add or take away?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, sir. Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Good. All right, jumping around, consideration of the GMA employee benefit proposal. It was discussed and recommended that we table this. Do we have any more conversations about this?
Not at this time. I'll make a motion to table that consideration.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, Andrew, I got yours. All those in favor? All right. Next is 133 Blue Ridge Avenue, preliminary plat approval. I believe that we have the developer here. Council, y'all have any questions on this plat or questions for the new owner?
Just about the existing structure of the neighbor going over the lines as it is.
I mentioned it to them also when they came in.
Please state your name for the record, sir.
BJ Mann.
Thank you, sir.
So with regard to the existing property that has a structure that encroaches the property line, that's the case regardless of what happens here today. So whoever owns that property in the future is going to have to address that or not address that with the neighboring property owner. It doesn't, based on our preliminary submittal, if anything was done with the property lines to accommodate that, it would not create a non-conforming lot under the existing zoning, which we're not looking to change.
Yes, sir. Council, do y'all have any more conversations or questions?
Just for the record, I also explained to them about the vacant lot in the position it's in, and Mr. Thomas Mitchell there will be in touch with them.
Okay, the alleyway.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Reiterate again about what we're gonna do with that.
So we voted to abandon that several years ago, and Thomas will send out letters to both parties on both sides offering that up to be purchased.
At the price that was set
Yes.
prior.
Several years ago, yes. All right, we'll entertain a motion to, I'm sorry, sir?
What's the size of the houses you're anticipating putting on?
Well, certainly above the minimum requirements for existing zoning. We're still determining exactly what would be best for the market in that area right now, but certainly well above the.
1,500 is what's there now, required.
No more questions, we'll entertain a motion to approve the plat as it's in front of us.
Make that motion.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second? All those in favor to approve the plat that's in front of us? Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you for service and thank you for your consideration this evening.
Really nice old house that was there 100 years ago. It was really nice, but it's falling apart.
Beyond repair.
Beyond repair at this point. It's sad that that house has a historical connection to the city, but it's detriment.
Next up is consideration of the home rules ordinance to amend section 2.21. Thomas, do you want to recap on that real quick?
Yeah, the purpose of this ordinance is to anticipate a possibility that we would have fewer than the required quorum of elected officials. That allows the remaining elected officials to act, and under those circumstances would authorize the mayor or whoever serves in the mayor's position to vote to create the 3 affirmative votes required to take official action. This is only first reading. We'll have to advertise this for 3 consecutive weeks before the next meeting, and then you all can adopt it.
Thomas, refresh my memory on what we had voted on, I think at the beginning of the year on first readings. Can we adopt that if we're all in agreement?
Not for this. This is a home rule amendment, so this has to go through. This is a statutory process for these that's different than our process for amending our ordinances. This is a charter amendment.
So no vote or action on this, correct, tonight? That is correct. Council, y'all have any more questions on this? All right, next is consideration of approval of the payment to MPE for $24,800. It is in our budget. That's just for approved mark to pay that invoice. Council, do you have any questions on that? That's a pump for the East Mile Well.
Totals 24,800.
Correct.
Make a motion to approve the payment of the $24,800 for MTE.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second? All those in favor? Next is consideration of the IGA fire station lease.
Somebody's supposed to turn my phone on. They don't know how yet.
Thomas, you've reviewed this lease and it is your.
I reviewed both the lease for the building and the lease for the pumper. In fact, I participated in drafting them, and they're appropriate for you all to approve.
Very good. We'll start with consideration of the lease of the fire station. This is $30,000 per year, and this is a credit back of what we're paying them. So no money changes hands, just credit. Council, do we have a motion?
I'd like to make that motion.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second? All right, Andrew, I got yours. All those in favor to move forward with this lease? Next is consideration of the lease for the fire apparatus, the bumper. Thomas, once again, you did approve, and it's your recommendation to move forward with this?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. We'll entertain a motion to lease the fire apparatus, the pump. Thank you, sir. Do we have a second? Second. All those in favor?
this lease on the Habersham County side needs to be amended.
Yes, they're aware.
Okay.
They're aware.
I am, excuse me, I am in a council meeting. I will call you when I get home.
Next is consideration of intent to sell the Demorest fire equipment to Habersham County. This is for some of the equipment that they outlined that they wanted of $75,000 to divide it over 4 years. Council, how would you like to proceed?
I would like to make a motion that we do that.
Okay, do we have a second? All those in favor to move forward with the sale of this equipment? Next is consideration of the sale of the, is this an LOI or is this to sell the?
It's to sell the equipment.
Okay, very good. So Gainesville has offered to purchase the equipment. What was that purchase price? $24,500. Okay. And that is just for the scuba tax and cylinders, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Scuba. Is it scuba?
Just the air tanks and the straps.
Okay. All right, we'll entertain a motion to sell those to Hall County, or Gainesville, city of Gainesville.
I'll read that motion.
Sir? Thank you, sir. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor to move forward with that sale? All right, very good. One of our favorite parts, the manager's report. Mark, what you got for us?
Shit is wrong in Washington.
All right. I'll start
Maybe you
off
won't
with,
be able to find his manager's report.
Okay, right?
Charlie said maybe you won't be able to.
the police report is what we'll start with. They had a total of 300 calls. Obviously, that's 10 calls a day on average there. They had domestic violence calls, 2 being physical, 5 verbal, 20 incident reports, 10 accidents, which Georgia State Patrol did 5, and our officers did the other 5 due to injuries. We had 98 traffic stops and issued 40 citations. So you're looking at a 40% ticket writing percentage there, 69 hours of training. On the water system, our system is operating within our permits. And if you recall, a month or 2 ago, I told you they had to be an error when I said his report reflector said we weren't in permit, but it didn't get changed from the month before. So that was an error on at that point in time, but it's since been corrected. And we are in compliance with our sewer plan also. Go to verify and get Brian's report.
Sorry.
The financial highlights. This month, we did have, in the month of January we're talking about here, we did have a large water fund transfer, and I'll go through that and explain the difference of that. We did receive $256,000 in property tax revenue, which is a very good amount because our total is only 471, so that was a good portion. Health insurance cost the city $16,000, and we had a fee of $6,000 we paid on TAP grant, and we made our second annual payment of $15,000 on our car tag reader, and we have 3 more payments to go. And here it is where we made the fire protection services to Habersham, $133,849 was made. And that is the gist of what came out of that of that transfer. And then this is a number y'all are going to hear for the first time for the public. We paid $87,976 in fire department severance pay. And we'll be doing a budget amendment later on that item there. We received almost $39,000 in SPOS, which is continuing to go up each month.
What was it, $6,000 in fees on tap credit?
That was a, I want to say, pretty sure, but I'll confirm that. I want to say that was a fee to Brad Day. And I'll confirm that with y'all. This month, we had a payment for the month of January, $124,000 for water purchases to the city of Baldwin, right at $26,000 to the city of Tacoma. We spent roughly $104,000 on various water, sewer repairs, pipe supply purchase totals there. In these financials were dated January 31st, 2026.
You're under the file dated 01/2026.
Yes, yes. Our general fund operating reserves there for the month of $293,000 with our balances. And if you look to the right, we've already consolidated the cash balances as of February 28th. We're at $486,000. SPOS dollars, total in the account is $620,000, and for the month of February, it's $663,000. So we continue to hit those larger numbers. Total water cash for water and sewer fund is 2.5, and as of 2/28, it's 2.9 million. Overall cash is 3.6, and up to February 28th, it's 4.3 billion. Operating cash is 641 for January 31st. Total operating cash for February is right at $1.2 million. And it took for the general fund expenses right at $213,000. Water and sewer expenses were right at $700,000. Our liquidity went down some from 4.20 months to 4.02, so we continue to work on that. The next page up here, which is page 4 of 9, shows our expenses, and it's the first month into the year. All those are paid as agreed upon. And if we go to page 6, you can see the monthly income for January, where it shows the $256,000 collections, and we collected total for that month $284,000. In the month of February, we received, which this is showing, right at $104,000 for Georgia Power franchise fees. That comes once a year. So this is where we did our transfers, $252,000, but really it would have been $124,000. So each quarter we're gonna have a big check that comes out like that $133,000, and that's where we'll catch up with that as we're able to continue through our cycle year there. Going to page 7, expenses and income. You can see where total operating revenues are $589,000. Total expenses were $464,000 with a net income of $125,000. You can see our budget for the gross revenues is $8.9 million, so we were right there at $600,000. Our gross expenses are at $7.1, and we were at $529. So we're in line with that. And the last page, being 9 of 9, is the SPOS dollars. And a couple other issues. Would you like to announce who will be our grand marshal for the July 4th.
Sure. Of course, we'll put out some kind of press release closer to the month of July, so, to properly, give everybody knowledge.
Hold it.
What? Should we just hold that?
Oh, pay for number of trees.
It's up to y'all.
Let's hold it another month.
Okay.
Let's keep that,
You're here.
You're not the issue. We're not worried.
No.
But they do know, the person in their organization does know, so we'll leave it at that. All right, tomorrow starts our billing, which we have 2 billing cycles for our water department and sewer. We have the 4th and the 20th. Our price increase for the meter sizes is being completed as we speak. They had to get past February 20th cycle to totally rebuild this. And these bills may not go out to the 6th or 7th, because they're trying to finalize, run some double checks. So if anybody mentions anything, well, I ain't got my water bill yet. And if it causes anybody to be late or anything, we'll be glad to deal with that at that time. Just wanted to make y'all aware of that. The other thing that we instituted this week is our new payroll system. For those of y'all who all remember punching a time card, well, that just ended in Demorest last week. Last week, no more time cards. They all will do it online. Because Megan then, on Wednesday mornings, would have to take all those, and each of the department heads will have had to sign off and total the hours, and then Megan would have to go through those. 4.5 hours. Do not walk in her office on Wednesday morning to disturb her in any way.
Mark schedules everything for Wednesday morning.
So, we did our first run today for the deposits to go in on Thursday. And when she runs those, everybody's account, their email gets hey, your deposit is going in on Thursday. So those were received, and we're well on our way. It's a little struggle. I have to approve certain things every Monday. Each of the department heads do too, and the employees do. So it's a training in process. And then the other part is, mine is different because I had my iPad already. But anybody says that we're killing trees by cutting down trees, we are not anymore by saving how many rounds of paper and that book for all the information in our packages every month, and which is also saving time to load each one of those books, where this information goes to Megan and she can start sending things out, and it just builds all of this up. And I think for our first time today, it's been pretty doggone smooth.
I like having one of that information.
And so,
and to make Casey happy, I haven't once taken out my magnifying because I'm able to enlarge it.
So 2 big things of technology, and really that was one of my plans when we came into this room, was to go to this. And I appreciate all y'all willing to take the time to learn and understand it and to use it. But y'all, there is a young lady in our office, in our room, who was sitting behind the counter back there where we could see her head. The amount of stress that Miss Rhonda has been under in the last week and this week, reorganizing and totally rebuilding with our Tyler financial system. It's been tough, very tough. And I don't wish that upon her. I told Megan, I wish there was a way we could eliminate that from her, but unfortunately, we can't. And she does want me to make a public announcement, though. I have said in her review that Rhonda does not like change. Let me tell you something, guys. She has changed a boatload of stuff this past week, and she says, because really in your review, you get a 5. She says she doesn't even want a 10, she wants a 12. And I gave her a high five today, and I told her when this is completed, we would go back and make those changes for her. And but I deeply feel for Rhonda because Tyler tried to tell her, we got 7,200 accounts, you have to go in and change every account manually to do this. And I heard her flat out tell her, we're not doing that. We are not doing that. And so she was flustered, they were flustered, and would you like to add anything to that, Rhonda? Well, let me. Well, I'm telling you, I feel for Rhonda, I feel for Keith at home, because I don't know how far it's reaching in her life.
She said you can stop now.
Okay, well, I just want you to know I care. That being said, I yield my time back to the mayor.
Thank you, sir. Well, I appreciate everybody's work on putting together today's meeting.
Excuse me.
Oh, it's about to be appearance of public comment.
I ain't going, I would like 2 minutes.
Yes, ma'am, you'd have 2 minutes.
Number one, I want to voice my appreciation for this. It helps me to get up, it enables me to stand up and say the prayer and pledge to allegiance. I can walk, but I need something to help me get up. Rhonda, I don't know who you are, honey, but I'm Gail Moore. I live at 350 Key Largo Avenue. I don't know who put up the big sign, dead end, whatever, at the end of my driveway. I didn't ask for it. My neighbor behind me didn't ask for it. But it certainly is beneficial because it is a dead-end street. As right now it is. I don't know 50 years from now whether it will be or not.
In order of that sign that you brought that up earlier, I got with our streets department, and they did it. Our streets department did it. I'm asking our guys to pay attention to street signs and other signs that are needed, because we have some streets that just has one name and doesn't have the cross street, and that is a project we're working on to get that.
Okay, well, I don't want to take more than 2 minutes. First of all, I want to thank people that came tonight that had diverse opinions, old versus new, because things do change as technology improves. I mean, somebody told me the other day that they could even with brain waves tell whether somebody's lying or ain't lying, depending on whatever the topic is. But I want to say to those people on Facebook, I have a life to live. I am a busy bee, and there's plenty of suitable seating here. So those of you who are contacting me, asking me to discuss stuff that either you are uncomfortable with getting in front of this microphone, or whatever your reason, if you are deaf, for example, with appropriate notice, according to their information, sign language will be available for you, for those who need sign language. If you have no transportation, there is transportation available through Habersham Transit. There may be a nominal fee, I don't know, but you I'm sure have to make a reservation for them to transport you here. I don't have enough vehicles, and I ain't planning on getting any. So, those of you on Facebook, if you want to continue to sit home and listen to what goes on here and to watch TV or whatever you're doing, feel free to do it. But please don't call me anymore and ask me to present your stuff. I don't have time, nor am I willing to. Amen. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gill.
Well, I appreciate y'all. I know I've been a bother, but anyway.
Is there any other public comment?
Yeah, I'd like to make an announcement.
Sir?
Next month, or this month, March 19th, at 5:30 PM at the Mason Scharfenstein, right outside. Yeah, thank you. Museum of Art. There's going to be a screening of a documentary about Johnny Miles, Stalking the Big Cat. Part of it was filmed here in this room here. There's some local people interviewed. Mr. John Popham was in it, Mr. John Foster, Joni Babe,
And yourself.
I'm in it too. But I encourage everybody, it's $15 per ticket. You can find information on Mason Scharfenstein Museum of Art Facebook page, a link to the purchase tickets. It should be a good, interesting event. Not every day do you have a movie filmed in your hometown.
Thank you for that.
Oh, and congratulations on the 30th anniversary. Yeah.
I appreciate that.
All right, any more public comments? None, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second? All those in favor? Very good, thank you.